Hello, welcome back to Mark's Garden UK at Rose Cottage near Nantwich in Cheshire. It's springtime, so it's time to turn your attention to pruning the buddleias, which are over there. I'm in the wildlife corner of my garden. This is the new wildlife pond, which I've just finished. I'm about to start planting it. Let me give you a guided tour of my wildlife corner. This is the mound of earth here. This is the spoil from the pond, which I dug by hand. I've already planted some poppies in here. This is going to be a wildflower meadow. I've got some wildflower seeds on order, so we'll be doing that project in the next few days. These big boulders here, they're going to be moved over there to my right. There's going to be a bog garden. My neighbour's going to lend me his mini digger, so I'm going to build a bog garden over there. The wildlife pond is for wildlife: frogs, toads, newts, amphibians, birds, and anything else which chooses to use it. Up here, up this ramp, I'm going to build a viewing platform looking down over the pond and also over there over the open fields. Down here is my wildlife log pile. Underneath that at the back is my hibernaculum, which is a big underground cavity filled with rocks and half plant pots covered in roofing felt, buried with an entrance hole. That's where wildlife can go and hibernate. Here are the buddleias, which I'm about to prune, and I'll tell you how to prune them, why to prune them, what time of year, and some interesting facts about buddleia. Interestingly, I did this 12 months ago and I was actually suffering from COVID last time I did this, so these buddleias will forever remind me of my COVID. Down there is a big pile of twigs. This is an easy job for me because the cuttings from that just go into my twig pile. Let's get back to the pile of tools now. You may or may not need these tools, and incidentally, all these tools, there are links to these tools in the description box below this video, and if you buy them through Amazon, I do get a commission. That's for sawing bigger branches in a tree. Again, that's another branch saw. Some large loppers. If you do this every year, you will only need small loppers because the branches won't ever get thick enough. That's a sharpening stone. I've given them a good sharpen. Let's go over to the buddleias and have a look. So here they are, the buddleias, also known as a butterfly bush. They produce these amazing long blossoms. Here are some spent blossoms from last year, which give off a beautiful scent, and they're very attractive to butterflies. Now, the thing with buddleias is they start where they left off. So in other words, the growth will start from here and go upwards. And they flower on the tips of this year's growth. So if I was to leave this, it would grow another 6 to 10 feet. And these blossoms would be up there in the sky. So they'd be no good to me up there because, number one, I wouldn't get the scent over my wildlife pond. Number two, I wouldn't be able to see the butterflies that come and visit the pollen. So that's one of the reasons you prune them back. Another reason you prune them back is for the vigour and the health of the plant, because they do become quite long and willowy, and if they blow about in the wind, it can break them and that can let disease in. You can even prune them back at the back end of the year and get a second flush of blooms. But this is the spring pruning. And as I say, if you do this every year, the branches won't ever get too thick and you won't ever need anything more than a small pair of loppers like this. That's a sharpening stone. I've given them good sharpening. The sharper your tools, the better it is really, because it's easier to cut the plants, but it also prevents risk of injury, which can let disease into the plant. Now, interestingly, these buddleias in some states in America, they're actually banned because they are quite invasive. They self-seed everywhere, and as I look around I can see there's one over there and there's one down there. I know there's a couple over there behind the mound. In America, actually, the geneticists, people that play around with plant genes, have bred and designed one of these plants that doesn't actually seed. It's an infertile version of this plant, but the fertile versions, the invasive ones, are actually banned in some states in the States. So you'd need to look into that if you're watching in America. I do apologise if you can hear Simba. He stood at the gates barking at passers-by. So let's get in there and start tackling the pruning. I'll just put the soapstone or the sharpening stone to one side. My cuttings are going on this pile of twigs here. I'm going to do this in 2 phases. First phase really is just to get it under control so that we can see what we're dealing with, and then I'll bring you in and give you a bit of a close-up. And I'm going to be pruning them hard back right down to the ground, but I'm just taking half the growth off for now so that we can have a proper look down at the base of the plant. So I'll see you in a moment when I've finished pruning the top half off these buddleias. So there we are. Last year's growth has been taken away. I've pruned them down to a much more manageable height. You can see this one's about 4 foot, that's about 3 foot. If I wanted to, I could leave it there and they would just continue growing from this level. And in fact, if you want your blossoms to be slightly higher up, maybe for an upstairs window or something, you can stop there or there, and the blossom will appear about 6 to 9 feet or possibly 10 feet above the point where you stop pruning. So that's a way of controlling the height of this. Now, I want my blossom to be around this level, so I'm going to take them even further down, and I'll bring the camera in a little bit closer to show you what I do. But that was quite indiscriminate, quite indiscriminately pruned away, and it will start growing from underneath, just underneath where you've pruned from the next leaf node down. What's nice about this is there's last year's growth on a lovely twig pile, and it's on top of the previous year's growth, and that's just going to mulch down and rot away, and there'll be all kinds of invertebrates in there chewing away at the mold and creating all kinds of organic matter which provide insect life with a home, and those insects will then provide food for birds. And you can probably hear them. This area is full of birds. I can hear the bird song. Let's go in a bit lower down. Now what I'm going to do is prune down to a certain level, about 6 to 9 feet below where I want my blossoms. My blossoms will be about this level if I take it down to about there, and that's all I'm going to do now. I'm just going to go in a little bit lower with my loppers, my mini loppers, and just prune away. I'm keeping my eyes out to make sure I leave some leaf nodes just below where I'm pruning, and those will be the ones that start growing and going up skywards. Quite a tall, leggy, willowy plant this, and I'll show you in a moment, because you can see all kinds of fresh growth in here. In fact, I'll do a little cutaway now. There's some beautiful little fresh leaves coming up here, and those will be the ones that will go up and carry this year's blossoms for all those wonderful butterflies. Now, you're always in two minds whether you should be inviting butterflies to your garden, because they will lay eggs on your cabbages, and those eggs will hatch into caterpillars, and before you know it, you'll have all kinds of trouble in your veg patch. But I believe in inviting as much wildlife into the garden as possible and creating a kind of a diverse ecosystem. You can always protect your cabbages and your lettuces with a net. And here is that lovely fresh growth. Can you see it there in my hand? These are my rose-proof gardening gloves. They've been brilliant, and I have worn a hole in them. I've been using them, but I've had those 18 months and they've been absolutely fantastic. You can grab hold of thorns with them and they won't go through them. Again, I'll put a link in the description box below this video. But look, there you, a nice strong stalk there, and these will grow up and up and up, and the blossom will be at the top of them. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but it's giving out a beautiful fragrance, and the insects obviously love it. There's a lovely big bee there. I don't know if you can see it on camera. I'll try and capture it on the video. There we have it, the buddleia's pruned for another year. I'll just gather up these final bits of cuttings and throw them on the twig pile. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell, and come back soon, because I'll be building my viewing platform up there and sowing my wildflower meadow over there. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.